just not working.
Yeah. Usually helps when Dan is there.
Yeah.
The secret is just being. Just simply being in every moment. It's not something you can do with your mind, but it is something that happens when the mind is still. It's actually effortless, but your mind will try and do it, which usually is difficult. So just be. Watch the things happen. Watch them go by. And if judgments happen, watch that too. But don't get involved. You see, don't judge the judgments. Don't adopt the judgments. Just watch them. So you see, all these things happen in life. And the mind says, oh, this is a good thing. Or, oh, why did this happen? How do we get out of this and avoid it? You see, so this is how the mind operates. The mind is always analyzing everything in relation to itself and how it may have effects upon you. Mm-hmm. But without that, life is pretty easy. Things just come and go. Things happen. Some of them maybe not very favorable, others very favorable. Yeah, that's how life is. They come and go. There was this story Papa used to tell, which I will not tell as well as he did, or as accurately, because he could just quote it from Scripture by heart. But there was this story about a farmer who he was a poor farmer. You know, he had his son helping. And he had one horse. And, the horse that he had broke free from the pen one night, and now he had no horse. And you know, so his neighbors are like, "Oh, this is a really bad thing. How are you going to make it, you know, without your horse? And we're really sorry this happened to you." And the farmer goes, "It's okay. It's in God's hands. I'm sure it'll work out." And well, a few days later, the horse shows up at the farm, and he brought along with him a bunch of wild horses. It was a little herd, and now they had all these horses, and the neighbors come by and they say, "This is such good fortune. You were so lucky. This is incredible. How did this happen? You know, we're so happy for you." And he goes, "Yes, it's all in God's hands. I'm sure it'll be fine." And well, the son is breaking the wild horses so they can use them, and one of the horses throws him, and he breaks his leg. And now the old farmer, you know, it's just him. He doesn't have his kid to help. And all the neighbors come by and they go, "Oh, what bad fortune. We're so sorry for you. This is the worst possible thing. How can, anyhow, you have our condolences. He says, don't worry. It's all in God's hands. Everything will be okay. And the next day, the army comes by, and they're force drafting all the young people and taking them into the army for some battle that's going on. And they go to the boy, they can't take him, he's got a broken leg. So he's spared. All the neighbors come by, wow, such good fortune. You are so lucky. You see, this is how life is. All these things happen, and the mind judges it. And the mind's judgments are not always correct. Some of the things you think are the worst thing that could have ever happened to you happen, and it leads to the best thing that could have happened, and the best thing wouldn't have happened unless that worst thing happened. I remember, when I was Leonard Cohen was when one time he was talking to us, and he talked about his kids and how much they meant to him, like they were really the whole reason for him living at this point. And he said, I got to tell you, when I got their mother pregnant, I thought this was the worst mistake I had ever made. And he says, but as it turns out, it was the best mistake I ever made. You see, so you can't trust even your mind's judgments on what's so in your life. So I wouldn't put too much gravitas on it. Just, watch these thoughts come and go. Watch the judgments come and go. There's certain things that you need to act upon, but other than that, I just wouldn't put much stock in it. You'll see what happens. The whole life is just, let's see what happens. It's like, you just wait and watch it unveil. See what God has for you next. And some of it may not be enjoyable, and some of it will be, and some of it that you thought was great will turn out lousy, and some of it that you thought, anyway. You just can't trust the mind as an arbiter of truth. Because the mind is only interested in one thing, and that's itself. This body, the ego, it's just thinking about itself. And it gets a lot of things wrong in that regard. So it's fine, the mind will do its thing, but you don't have to get involved. The problem is this personalizing thought, thinking that it's you. The mind likes to lay claim to you, but the mind is nothing. The mind is just part of this facade, this illusion that goes on. You see? That's how it works. But if you have a still mind, if you're able to just be, there's a certain expansiveness that you notice, a certain sense that is eternal, a certain presence that is undescribable. And that you can rest your hat on, because that truly is eternal. It never changes. You can rely on it because of that. When it comes to the mind, it's constantly changing. It's just always changing. So it acts like something that's an illusion. It acts like that. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's here, then it's there. As soon as you got it pinned down, oh, it's gone. That's how illusions act. So, if you want something that's real, simply be in this moment. And what you will notice is that this moment, right now, is exactly the same as it was when you were 5 years old, as it will be throughout the life. It's exactly the same. It's the same for you as it is for me. It's always the same. It's universal, you see. It's not me specific. And me's are very, very small. I don't think you understand how small the me is. It's infinitesimally small. It belongs to a body, which basically is a dust speck, living on a dust speck, in an eternal, vast space of emptiness. There's a few dust specks. And the me is there. And the me has a mind. Yahoo! Big deal. You see? And everyone's walking around thinking, I'm such a big deal. What I think, say, and do has meaning. It has meaning, really? What do you think it meant to the people on Mark 12 who have 3 ears and 2 noses? And they think they're something. Good. I didn't have anything to talk about, and it came out. So if you could just simply sit around and watch your life, instead of getting involved, things will be much easier. Excuse me.
Sometimes when you don't have something planned, kind of whatever comes out is just what's supposed to come out, and maybe it's for whoever's coming here
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah.
It's like,
I never know how it's going to be. Sometimes.
do you get feedback on it? I know I've mentioned it. There's been a few things you mentioned. I can't remember what they are over the years. Where I'm just like, wow, that's exactly what I needed to hear.
That's how it was with me and my
Yeah.
gurus too. But you see, it's simply, it's some synergy in the space, that's all. Because there's no one here talking.
Right.
You see, so it's not like I'm giving a talk here. You see, so basically it's just spontaneous and impersonal, just so it just picks up whatever needs to be done and whatever needs to be said.
Talking is happening. But it's,
Yes, indeed.
But it's not.
Yeah, like, well,
From,
Ramesh had a book, Consciousness Speaks.
right.
Yeah, it's just like that. And I heard Eckhart Tolle had a book called something like Silence Speaks. Or,
Can you talk more about some suggestions or techniques for stilling the mind?
Well, what I do here is I throw out a lot of concepts that help you be able to see what the mind is, because the mind purports to be much more than what it is. The mind purports to be you see. So there's that. In other words, if the emperor has no clothes, then it has no impact. And the other thing is, what keeps the mind going is your personal involvement with thought. You see, so a thought arises and you pursue it. And then that, of course, leads to other thoughts. And they go further and deeper and more, and then you're just lost in your thoughts, you see. That's because you have given them importance and credence, and you fed them basically with your attention and your belief in them as being something more than what they are. And so then that multiplies them. Because naturally thoughts just come and go. You see? No. Of course, there are different techniques for different people. Meditation is a classic one. Some people chant, and during the time that they're chanting, they're just thinking about what they're chanting about, which is usually God. And you know, everything else fades away. There's all these different methods. I used to write, get out the thoughts, and just be done, you know. And I did meditate. It would sometimes be a nap, but you know, every afternoon I would lay quietly for a while. You see, but what started happening is that there was a distance forming between me and my thoughts. So the thoughts would go on, and rather than personalizing them, I was witnessing them and being with them. You see, but gradually what happens then is that this idea of you being a body-mind, it starts to diminish. And so that way of looking at yourself in a personal way diminishes. And more, the mind is something on the sidelines. And this sense of presence of being, this stillness, is in the foreground. So you don't have to work hard to get to stillness, because that's what's here. The mind has to work hard to get to stillness, because the mind doesn't have it. You see? But when the mind is still, stillness is what's here. And then you notice it. You see? So your personal awareness of stillness comes and goes. But it's always here. 100% it's always here. So I work a lot with these concepts that help bring you into an understanding that what you have been focusing on is not what it purports to be. That you're living a charade. You're pretending to be something that you're not. And time will take care of this problem, because lives only last a lifetime. and then the problem is finished. So, so you can select any technique that works for you. It can be anything. It can be writing, it can be singing, it can be just sitting quietly, reminding yourself too. You see? You have these thoughts and all this stuff going on, and it's all much to do about nothing. Much to do about nothing. Your whole life is much to do about nothing. Why do you have to do anything about nothing? It doesn't warrant any action on your part. You see? So just do the things that are important to keep the body alive. Pay your rent. Eat, go to the bathroom, take care of the basics, so you're not suffering physically. But outside of that, you don't need to do so much. Because in fact, what are you doing? This is, it's like you watch the TV or see a movie and you see all these things happening. Nothing happened. Those were actors. They were just acting a part. They were reading a script. They were choreographed. Everything was filmed just so. And you went, wow. And you laughed and you cried. All kinds of things happened, but you know what? Nothing happened. And this life is like that. Everything appears to be happening, but nothing's happened. You're having these experiences. But it's just a show. It's just a short, temporary show. It lasts for a lifetime. Okay, so that's longer than MASH lasted. But it's still just a show. Eventually, your show will get canceled. And then you'll go, wow, that was a really good series. Yes?
So these challenges that I seem to experience, they're not meant for any kind of spiritual growth?
You can make up any story you like.
Yeah.
No, really, you make up any story you like, any story you're happy with. But it's just a story within a story. Okay? Now, if you are comfortable with this is happening for my best good, great. And take that ride. It's better than my life sucks, God hates me. So just make up anything that you're comfortable with. It's just, and here's the thing. Don't take it too seriously, because 10 years down the road, you might have a different way of looking at it that'll work better for you. You see, so be flexible and make adjustments as warranted. But you see, so it's like you can put any belief you want on anything, any value you want on anything, but nothing that you believe could possibly be true. Because truth cannot be held by a belief, cannot be held by a concept. But you're dealing with something that's not true, so just make up any story you like. I mean, all these people have stories about the afterlife. And they pick the one they like. And it's like, fine. Why shouldn't you have a story that brings you some comfort? But understand it's just a story, that's all. It doesn't mean like, oh gosh, no, my life has no meaning, there's no purpose, there must be razor blades around here somewhere. So you don't need that, but the truth is something that could not be understood by a mind. Because a mind is a very, very simple tool. It's only here to help protect the body, which is just a dust speck on a dust speck. And fine, let the dust speck live a whole dust speck life. And just you adopt the things that that help with your basic comfort level. But you don't take it seriously enough to think that that's you. You see? You think things are happening to you, you think you are doing things, and the mind judges what's happening to you, and the mind judges what you do, and then you do something, and then you feel guilty, then you do something, then you feel pride, and you see it's a big mess. It's just a big mess. And it's filled with all kinds of karma. And it's like sticky, and something happens and you feel angry and you can't shake it, it's sticky, and you can't get rid of it. And it's just because so much has been put into this grand illusion that you are you, and what you do and what you think and what you say has some meaning. So don't take it too seriously, because it's a sticky world out there, and you don't want to get stuck in the tar pits of life. Just just do what you do, and as much as you can, just be in your moments as much as you can. Yeah, that's all. It's easy, really. But, don't make it...
It's not. Sometimes it is, but sometimes...
It's not for you because you're trying to do it. But understand, this is actually happening to you right now. Right now. Oneness fills the room. Right at this very moment. All there is this stillness. Your mind has veiled it. Your thoughts and your attention to those thoughts and then identification with those thoughts have made it so you don't see where all those thoughts came from, where everything is. You're lost in the thoughts, and you've purposed them with you. You've actually let yourself be conquered by a mind. And that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I mean, you are connected with everything. My primary guru, Baba, he put it so simply. God dwells within you as you. I mean, you're thinking, you are these thoughts and feelings. And Baba's saying, excuse me? No, you're God. That's your essence, is God. Why are you allowing the mind to be in charge? You see, so it's hard for your mind, because your mind wants to go there because it thinks it's in charge. But that's mistaken. Your mind is not truly in charge. If your mind were in charge, your life would look so good right now. Things would be just hot. You wouldn't even bother coming to this because your life would be grand. Yes.
Can you talk more about the illusion of doership?
Oh. I probably can. Now, part of this illusion is the idea that you're doing something. And like I said, you watch the movie, and it looks like people are doing things. It looks like things are happening, but no one did anything. An actor got paid millions of dollars to pretend he was doing something. You see? And you bought it. So you're in that situation now with this movie that you call your life, where you think you're doing stuff. And all you have to do is imagine 10,000 years ago, somebody finds out that 10,000 years ago you existed. Probably they found a bone or something. And do you think they're going to think that you did something? And if you did something, are they going to know about it? No. No, they're not going to know about it in 10,000 years. They're not going to know about it in 1,000 years. Unlikely they're going to know about it in 100 years. The thing is, even though you did nothing in that history, you think you're doing something now. But the same rule applies. You're not actually doing anything. Any action you take is based upon the thoughts in your head and the conditioning that you've had throughout your life. And you have nothing to do with any of that. You don't know where the thought came from. You don't know why you acted the way you did. You know, sometimes you swear you're going to do this and you're going to do that, then the opportunity comes and you don't. You don't know why. You know, this is life. It appears that you're doing something, but nothing is actually happening. This is, you see, but then you take an action, and then you have a response, and things happen because of that action. And you see, I did something. See, I did something. But that's just karma. It's just the way this illusion works. It's a well-built illusion. It's built well enough to fool a mind. Okay, which is really not that difficult, but still. You see, so you have the appearance of actions. The appearance of actions. But you know, actions only happen within the realm of time. And your nature is timeless. You see, this is just a very limited kind of space where an action could even happen. And I did something. What is that? It's just ego. That's all it is. So, did I talk about it?
Say what?
Did I answer your question?
Well, it just makes me think of more questions, like you brought up ego. Talk about ego. What is the difference between ego and your true self?
Ego is what you think you are, and the true self is what you are. You know? This idea of me, this idea of me is simply illusionary, okay? It's tied in to the sense of you having an existence separate from God. That can't be. It just can't be. You're part of everything. This idea that you have an existence separate from God is some sort of fantasy that makes this little illusion go on. Fine. It's kind of the engine. It's like the motor that turns the reel for the movie and keeps it all going. But God dwells within you as you. if you can just be with that sense of just being connected with everything, and that sense of the eternal, that which never changes, which is within you all the time. And you're busy thinking about your thoughts, but you don't know where they came from. And you're thinking about you and your existence, but you don't even know what makes your heart beat. What makes your heart beat? And without that, where would you be? Nowhere. So, that which is the source of everything is here at every single moment, and you don't focus on it. You see, because you're too busy thinking about me. Me this, me that. Me, me, me. Why not move that over to thinking about God? God, 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 God. And just be with that eternal sense of now, which is always here. Yeah?
So when you contemplate like coming to do a satsang here, do you have a thought go through your head like, I'm going over to Mark and Steffi's to do a satsang, or do you think like a satsang will happen and I'll be there, or how do you think about it?
I don't know. I don't even think much. I know what time to leave in the car and what I need to get ready. Basic stuff. We sit down and chat for a while. I go into my room and hide out. I come out here usually with no idea what I'm going to say. But, usually works out. And I got my little book here. If I can't come up with anything, I'll just read a poem. Like that. I don't think about it very much. I don't think about, I think it was Wayne, the successor to Ramesh's lineage. Wayne said the difference between enlightenment and before is that he just doesn't think about himself that much anymore. So that process doesn't go on. So it's minimal with the thinking. And in the early days, I used to write a couple lines maybe. But it's been going on for many, many years. I don't need to do that. Sometimes I'll hear something that'll spark something. Just mention it. See what comes out. I never think I'm going to do satsang though. That doesn't occur to me.
Well, I've seen a lot of different things, Hindu and Buddhism, and all kinds of different religions, and I've cherry picked, and I do what resonates with me.
Yes.
And so I try not to belong to any one thing. And I've listened to Osho, and I've listened to all kinds of. When I'm in a place where I've never been before, I was in a very self-loathing place for many years. Up till maybe about 3-4 years ago. And Spirit came to me, and I meditate a lot now, and I hear things, and I don't know, I'm much happier, but, so all that being said, I guess I'm still, and you brought up a good question, like I still kind of think like I have to chop wood and carry water, or I need to experience as much as I can out of this lifetime. But then on the other hand, don't have to do anything. Well,
Mhm.
yeah, I guess you're right. so it gets, maybe the lines get blurred.
Well, you see, you're still going to do what it is your nature to do. Okay? So during my sadhana, I was driven to see my gurus. And most of the time they weren't next door. Most of the time they were halfway across the world. And so that's where I went for as long as I could till I ran out of money. Then I make some money and then I go back. So you see, it's like, because that was my nature, that's what I wanted to do. That was my focus, you see? No, ultimately, yes, what I said is true. You don't have to do anything, but you have to do a lot of shit to get there. To get to the point where you know you don't have to do anything. And so you still follow what it is your nature to do. You don't say, oh, well, shit, fuck this, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to sit in the corner. I still am looking for the razor blades, so. Because it's like, you see, because that's not true to your nature. And so you do what it is that you have resonance with, like you said. You follow the things you have resonance with and trust that that will guide you and will show you what you need to see. And that's also, so I'm
Just being non-resistant, just
being open. Just being open, you see, being open to your life. No matter how it looks, you see. No, ultimately what I'm saying is true. But right now, you may have to do something to get there. You're going to do something anyway, right now, because there's an active ego, there's active identification. And so things will have to follow a certain course before that burns away. But you see, I put myself in situations that would burn that away. And it just took time. And my sadhana was 21 years. It takes time for that to actually happen. But it does. So it's fine if you do whatever it is you have resonance with. And it could be all kinds of things. And you don't have to feel like, hey, I'm not this ego, I'm not this, I'm gonna just fade away. And you know what, maybe for someone that would work. Maybe someone would get it right away and be done. It happens. It does happen. But if it's not your time, it doesn't matter. You just follow your path. Wherever it goes, you just follow it.
Well, my issues aren't with those kinds of things. My issues are with people.
Yeah.
They're always with somebody else.
They're always what?
With somebody.
How does that mean? Oh, you mean your issues are
I
always
don't
with...
have an issue with jumping out of a plane or skydiving or rock climbing or
Yeah.
hiking or fishing or doing some chopping wood, carrying water, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but my issues, the things that I'm in conflict with are more often than not, they're people.
Okay.
Or others.
No,
You know,
no,
others.
but you see, the issue is the mind's judgments. Okay? I submit to you that if you had a loving, accepting place about yourself, that's what you would have with others. And so what you're seeing is a reflection of your own judgments of yourself. And so I would take those people, and make it into something that points out your inability to accept certain aspects of yourself. And when you come to full acceptance of yourself, everything will become much easier. Okay? And really, ideally, you want to bring that acceptance that God has for you into all aspects of yourself. So, but keeping the focus outer makes the problem very difficult to deal with. But using that to reflect in makes it something that you can deal with and look at and just be with, and learn how to love yourself better. So basically what these things are doing is they're pointing out an area where you could expand self-love. You see, and including
Yeah,
your,
a reflection.
yes, these people are doing you a favor. They're showing you shit that you won't see any other way. And so it's like, thank you, and work on seeing that. You know, if you could love everything that comes to you, see, like I started the talk, talking about how you see things one way, but they're not necessarily that way. And so you see, you're looking at these others as being blah, 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 and behind all that are these personal judgments and values and all the energy that goes into that of righteousness, everything else that comes up around it. And instead of just, these are just actors performing their parts, and these are just sensations and feelings that are going through me, and I am judging them as being suck-ass harm. You see? And you see, because you're judging them in that way, they're just unbearable. And you want to do something about them for bringing this on to you. You see? It's all fucked up. So,
I know, you know what, I know that, but I do it anyways. You know, it's like I'm slow on the uptake.
oh, no, all you need to do now is just kind of like grow up about it. It's okay. It's all right. You know, look, this is the way you've been doing it for a long time. So it's a habit, but what it is, though, it's actually a gift. This stuff that comes up is there. It's not new. It's not something that just came up out of the blue. This is stuff that's been with you. It's been a burden. It's been a difficulty. And usually you can keep it at bay, and you could have continued to keep it at bay, except for this fucking idiot.
Pretty much.
And you see, so it's fine. This is a gift. Life throws you all these gifts. I mean, especially in a relationship, and the end of a relationship, and all of that, and all this garbage comes up that you had no idea was in play at all. You see, but what it is, so the ego has hidden many aspects of its nature from you. You see, and that gives it power. It gives it power over you because it can control you in areas that you're blind to. So get to know this sucker. Get to know the person who you think you are. All of it. Get to know every aspect, and don't be fooled into thinking it's someone else when it's you. That someone else is just helping God reveal the beauty that is you.
Well, there's a part of me I don't like.
Yes, indeed. You know, the thing this was my experience with my gurus. I felt, intuitively, that they knew everything about me. That they knew the good, the bad, the ugly. And the thing about it was, they loved me anyway. Like unconditionally, 100%, not 90%, 100. They loved me and they 100% knew all of me, and I was not all a pretty picture. I was a mess. But it didn't seem to matter to them. They loved me anyway. So that showed me that it was possible. And since I had that example, I also knew what unconditional love felt like. Because, you know, the ego tries to love itself, and it has conditions. Yeah, I'll love this ugly, yucky aspect as long as it goes away. You see, the ego has conditions. That's not unconditional. Unconditional means I'll love you and you can remain just the way you are forever. And that is like, that's beyond the ego's pay grade. So, but it is possible, you see, my guru showed me it was possible, that love could happen. And it showed me also when my self-love had conditions, I could feel it was different, you see. So you have to be clean about it. And you know, basically, look, you've been suffering with this, it's been causing you difficulty, so this is just a way clear. That it's just, and it doesn't, you see, whatever methods you've used for clearing it, like getting rid of people, not being around them anymore, and finding a new crowd that you can be angry with later, you know, it's like, anyway, you know, this is how it is.
Thanks.
Oh, sure.
During one of your satsangs, you spoke about inner peace and radical acceptance. Can you speak more about the relationship between radical acceptance and inner peace?
Well, you see, peace, another word for peace, would be acceptance. Love, it's just a state of being which is not resisting and not running toward, it's just being. It's true peace. And a radical acceptance means that you bring that same sense of peace into all of your being. Not into just the places that you're comfortable with, but into places where even you're so uncomfortable you haven't been willing to go there. So you see, when you have complete acceptance, then nothing escapes you. You're willing to go everywhere. Okay? So it's really quite simple. The thing is that humans and egos, they put boundaries around stuff because, you know, some things are just difficult. People think it should be easy. You know, you're talking about love and acceptance. It should be easy. Well, it is easy, but it's not easy to get you out of the way. But once you're out of the way, it's easy. You see, the thing that you'll eventually, that you understand is that the one who gets enlightened is not you. The one who knows about living in peace is not the who that you think you are. It's the who that you actually are, which owns the who that you think you are.
Can you talk a little bit about the innate joy of being that's divorced entirely from external circumstances?
Well, not sure divorced is the right word, but you see, right now, whether you're aware of it or not, there is this stillness, there is this sense of being, which is indescribable, which never changes, and which is not affected in any way by what you think, say, or do, or by what is happening around you, you see. So what there is, basically, is like you watch the movie, and the movie is being projected onto a screen. But the entire time the movie's on, not once do you think about the screen, but the screen is the foundation of the movie. Without the screen, there's no movie. Nothing happens without it, but you never think about it. Okay, you're not supposed to think about it. So, it's like that. There is this sense of presence. There is this sense of being, which has no beginning or end, which has no boundaries. You're focused on your thoughts and feelings. They are projected onto the screen of this stillness. And as long as you are identifying with your thoughts and feelings, you lose sight of the foundation of the stillness that is everywhere all the time. So really it's just a matter of what you're looking at. Are you focused on the eternal? Or are you focused on this temporary phenomenon you call your life, the thoughts and feelings thereof? You see, even if you're focused on the eternal, even if that's the primary thing, there's still shit going on. It's just not your main thing. But you're still taking care of things. So my gurus were in that state all the time of being. But if someone called their name, they would answer. You see? So they were still in the world. They just weren't of the world. You see? So that's the thing. You can be in the world without being of the world. You can be focused in an impersonal way on that which is everything, without losing yourself on these personal, trivial matters and thinking that's all there is. That's where all your focus is. Yeah, try it.
Can you talk a little bit about samadhi?
Nah,
No?
it's not really my term. There's a state of samadhi that's talked about. It's just a fancy term for a state of complete witnessing, complete being, and people will give all different descriptions for the same thing, and none of them will be accurate because it could not possibly be described. Because it's the essence of everything, isn't it? What word do you use for that? Yeah, so you just...
It's hard to comprehend it. The essence of everything and the essence of nothing all at the same time.
They're the same thing. That's what you see.
Yeah.
You see, minds, they only operate, they're only able to understand that which has distinction. The mind is very good at pulling out the differences between that. Okay, so the mind's no good at everything or nothing, because neither of them have any distinction. And then if you tell the mind that everything and nothing are the same thing, it short circuits.
Yeah, because we're built on duality and separation, polar opposites, and
Yeah.
or that's the restrictive implant design.
That's the design. Well, you understand, it's the only thing that makes this illusion work. You see, so it's well designed. It's not meant to be seen as it is. That's because it's well designed to fool a mind. So then the great sages, they say, meditate, quiet the mind, because it's the only way you can know, is if the mind is still. If the mind is still, this is obvious. You don't need any words for it. You don't need any concepts. No beliefs will work. It's just what it is. So,
Sometimes it's hard to discern between, my feelings, my emotions, the visceral stuff,
right?
and the thoughts and the thinking, and because sometimes my feelings lie to me,
Yes.
and sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It's like, well, which one do I go with? The one that gives me the most peace.
Yeah, I would say. You just muddle around the best you can. But the thing about it is, all of these are thoughts and feelings. All of these are your thoughts and feelings. All of these are based in the notion of separation. Okay? You personalize them, they're yours. Okay? So you deal with them as best you can. And you clean up house in the ways I was telling you earlier, through self-love. And then it doesn't really matter. You have certain thoughts, you have certain feelings, you follow certain guidance, you don't follow others. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But you know what? None of this affects you, because everything is the same. Everything is always the same, because everything is here, now, the same. That sense of presence is always the same. That sense of being is always the same. This moment is always the same. Now, some of those moments, for you personally, are difficult. And some of those moments, for you personally, are easy. Who cares? Life is what it is. It presents what it presents. And it has nothing to do with you, because your place is always the same. Life is about simply witnessing and being through this experience of the passage of time. You just witness it all. And you know what? I have bad days. I have days where nothing will go right. I will have days where my computer is acting so sluggish, I'm ready to run down to the Apple Store. Get a new one. I have days where my orders get messed up, where everything isn't working. It's like, where my wife is saying stupid shit to me. I mean, I have all these days like everybody else, but for me, they're all the same. They're all the same. And because, it's like, I'm not personally involved in all that stuff. I'm not personally involved.
Well, if you weren't personally involved, then you wouldn't say your wife says stupid shit.
No, why wouldn't I? It was stupid shit. Why wouldn't I say it? That it doesn't mean that judgments and opinion never come up. They come up, but who cares? Okay, so
There, that's the difference.
So look, Baba was nothing but loving to me. He was totally nice to me, really all the time, which was unique because Baba had a temper. And people usually who were close to him got to see that now and then. He was nice to me. I didn't need that kind of treatment, I guess. But, he was known to have a temper. But he didn't care. He would get angry, especially in the kitchen, and throw pots and pans and have a real fit. And it was like, so there's a story of someone who saw Baba really going off, and tried to get out of his way because he was storming out her way, dove behind a doorway, and Baba saw her and peeked around and goes, "How was I? Good?" It's like, he didn't care. He didn't think, "Oh, I'm a guru, what am I doing acting like this? I'm supposed to be an enlightened being, why in the world would I be?" None of that went on. He was just being his nature. He was just doing whatever he did. There was no further judgment of it. Nothing. You see, so it doesn't mean that all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh, my wife, she's always loving to me. Everyone's always loving to me. Everything's so nice. I'm so grateful for all the shit. I'm so grateful for all the flowers. I'm so grateful for," bullshit. It doesn't mean all of a sudden you're like some flower blossom. It's still, you have a personality. There's still a personality. There's still things that happen. There's still things that piss you off. There's still things that whatever make you happy.
He's a jackass.
Yeah. It happens.
Jackass.
It happens. You see, so that's fine. It's the further judgment from that which creates a problem for you. You see? It's like if you judge yourself for judging others, if you judge yourself for the way you feel or what you do, then you have a problem. But if it's just something that flows out and it's gone then, and you don't take it back and don't adopt it as you, then it's done. It's no problem. You see, it's not like my gurus all of a sudden became automatons and they had no more personality and they didn't act according to that personality. An astrologer can look at your chart and say, "Oh, you got a lot of fire. Oh, you're prone to this and that." It's going to be in there. You're already saddled with it. That's just your nature. Yes.
So these arbitrary bullshit notions of oughtness and shouldness, what does it take to walk away from those?
Well, it would help if you didn't buy it, believe that they were real. They're just They're just a bunch of concepts and values that you've placed upon them, and and all they are really is ego, right? Because who ought, who should, me. It's all based in that. And so it's like, I just wouldn't give them so much credence when you're trying to get away from them. Who's trying to get away from them? Who's trying to get away from them? Oh, that would be the me. Why do you care? Why do you care? If you ought to do something, if you should do something, if it arises, who cares? It doesn't matter. It only matters when you start holding on to it, when you start believing it, when you start following it, when that becomes a value to you that you've adopted personally. Stuff is going to come up all the time. One time I went out with Ramesh. We hardly ever went out of the house, but he invited me to come along. These are very early days, and he was seeing his publisher. And it was at Chaitan Bookstore. It was a very famous place in Bombay for spiritual books. And anyhow, so he invited me to come along. So it was the first time Ramesh and I are in the taxi, and Ramesh is going, "Look at this film. Look at this power. Look at it." I couldn't believe it. Here's this guy who's nothing but peace, nothing but love. And he's like totally ragging on India. And and being like someone who was like an American tourist seeing it for the first time. It was just horrible. I never saw him like that again, ever. It was just that one time, but he was just blah, blah. And then it was done. It's just done.
It's because the ego is insidious.
Well, the thing is, what makes it an ego really is your personal identification with it. Otherwise, all it is an expression of personality, conditioning, all of it. And you see, the ego is this sense of personalized experience, okay, which involves me and the world, me and whatever. It's all based in duality, you see? When you are looking at yourself as a personal being separate from God, then it will be difficult.
Ego, ego, edging God out.
Oh, I like it. Sure. Mm-hmm. In any case, if that becomes the focus, if your life is personal, then it's always going to be difficult for you to see the screen.
I know that, we just forget.
Oh, you see, now when I went to see Ramesh in particular, and Baba too, but Ramesh in particular, I always got the feeling he was reminding me of something I already knew. That he was reminding me of something I had forgotten. And that's so, you see. Nothing here is anything that you don't already know. But it's just a reminder of home, you see. It's a reminder of home. So that's good.
So without the personalization,
Yeah.
the ego is just a tool then.
Oh yeah.
It's a necessary tool.
Absolutely necessary.
It's always going to be there, that thing.
And as long as the body is. And it's crucial for protecting the body.
So if you actually kill off your ego, and some sages throughout history have, you better have some devotees to change your diaper and feed you, right?
You better. You better. And my,
Or a wife.
Who is that guy?
I'll get Kelly on that job right away. She'd be using a hose.
Time for your weekly hose down.
Hopefully more often than that. But. So this idea, I know gurus have said, and then there's no ego. But I've never met a guru, I've met a lot of them, that didn't answer to their own name. So there's always something that lingers. What happens is the personalization of separation ends. So nothing is personal anymore. You see? So it's the personal is over.
I remember Osho talking
Yeah? Oh, cool.
So can you talk a little bit, I love when you talk about like what matters, and then you say like in 1,000 years and 10,000 years.
Well, you know, all I'm doing is pointing out the absurdity of the belief that anything that you do matters. I said it earlier, this talk.
Does the satsang matter?
No. Yeah, this is the only fucking thing. Everything else is bullshit.
So it goes.
Well, that's what I was saying. But I thought I'd played devil's advocate.
It's kind of strange that even waking up in this dream is a dream.
Yeah. Well, when you don't wake up, you'll know. But you won't be able to tell anyone. And you won't care. And you have dreams within the dream.
Like Edgar Allan Poe said, all we see and seem is but a dream within a dream.
I was reading just a little
And
Robert.
a little wrapped in an inside.
Go
I
on.
was reading a little Robert Adams, and he was talking about one of his students asked him, "Do you ever dream?" And Robert said, "Well, something like, as a matter of fact, I had a dream, but I was aware that I was having a dream. The dream was about this, that he flew to Arunachala and was inside the mountain and encountered all the awakened beings, Moses, and all these people he recognized, and then all these people he didn't recognize. And it was just this huge explosion of light, and it turned into a lingam. Everything turned into a lingam. He was aware that he was dreaming all of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Cool. More phenomena.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Can you talk more about what you mean when you say real?
Real. Well, they're just words. I don't claim that anything I say is true. And certainly that which is real could not be put into words. But I'm very good at faking it. I'm putting words to that which is indescribable, but hopefully, since you already know it, you'll get it anyway. You see? So these things, they're things that innately you know inside. So, it's just because you see, the truth here again is another paradox. Everything is real and not real at the same time. Everything is and isn't at the same time. I put things in terms of absolutes so your mind can understand it, but there are none. There really are no distinctions for the mind, but I make up some. I give you new concepts that can help tear down your old concepts. And once your old concepts are torn down, you don't need the new concepts anymore. In fact, you don't need any concepts or beliefs anymore. You see? Because everything just is. And then life is simple.
So you're talking about like non-conceptual conscious states?
Well, ultimately, the truth is not something you understand through a concept or a belief, okay? Because ultimately, no truth, no concept or belief can hold the truth. It's too big, and concepts and beliefs are too small, you see? So ultimately, all that needs to happen here is for the mind to go still, and then what I'm talking about will just be what is, and it will be totally obvious, and it will be impossible to put into words. But it'll be totally obvious that we are all in the same exact place all the time. And then it's just a matter of getting to that place where the mind is still. I mean, you certainly have to know the mind to see through it. You see, once you know the mind, it becomes translucent. And then it's invisible. You can see right through it. It's not something that you will ever get to as an individual, but it is something that you already know and that you already are with 100%. And just think about what is making your heart beat right now. Know that if your heart wasn't beating, this show would be over completely. Something is making your heart beat now, and it's not you. You didn't get it started. You didn't make it continue. You don't have anything to do with it. And yet you're big ass in charge of this body-mind, which is 100% reliant on your heart beating. Yes.
I'm trying to quell the ego, and it keeps arguing.
That's because it's the ego trying to quell the ego.
And it wants to say, well, I know this is an illusion. Of course, miracles can, and I get that. And yet when I say he's a jackass, I was so afraid because he was so in my face that, I mean, I peed my pants. I thought I was going to get harmed. So that was very real. Although it's an illusion, it's still, I mean, does that make sense?
I didn't say it wasn't compelling.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
You understand, even if he did hit you in the face, in 1,000 years, it's not going to matter. And nothing really happened. I understand that you have to take care of your life as best you can. And it just because nothing matters doesn't mean the next stop sign you shouldn't stop. You still take care of your life as best you can. But the repercussions, the after effects, if this is you personally involved, are severe. Whereas, if it's not you personally involved, the after effects are minimal. Mm-hmm. Okay. Personal involvement makes many after effects of actions, thoughts, and feelings, whereas the lack of personal involvement with them minimizes them. It makes them short term. So it's like Baba saying, how was I? Good? As opposed to Baba saying, oh, what the fuck am I doing here? Why am I being so angry? What if my disciple, I think that one saw it. What am I going to say? All the stuff the mind would do. He didn't have that going on. He was just blah, blah, blah. And he was like, fine, whatever. And he went on being a nice, loving guru as always. You see? And he didn't judge it, and he didn't, just like Ramesh in the car, it was just that one time. He didn't judge it, it just came out. That's what it was. You see, very, very unique. It's the only time I ever saw him like that. So, it's the personal involvement with your actions, thoughts, and feelings that create really bad, it's like a bad drug. Personal involvement has bad side effects. It creates guilt, it creates shame, it creates pride. It's like personal involvement is a nasty drug. Okay, and why would you want to be personally involved with this body-mind? All it is a temporary appearance of separation from God.
Because otherwise I'm a narcissist.
No, you're getting involved is being a narcissist. You're just less of a narcissist than a real narcissist who's just totally just thinking about themselves every moment. But basically, everyone's being narcissistic. I mean, what do you think? This is everyone's God, is me. They're walking around, they're thinking about me, me, me. They're thinking about what I'm going to do, what I'm going to go, why I'm going to go, what's going to happen to me, what am I going to like, what am I going to say, what about me, me, me. And that's it, it's like, if you thought about God as much as you thought about yourself, there'd be no more problems. Okay? But you see, but it's just you're living in me land. And so, to a certain degree, everyone is being a narcissist, you see, because they're focused on me, primarily. I mean, even the nice, good ones who are doing charity work and helping others, they're saying, look what I'm doing. I'm doing all this good shit for others. I'm doing the right thing. this is a good thing I'm doing. He's like, yeah, exactly. Still a me game. A me game got disguised as a for others game. That's all. Yes.
So I heard a friend of mine told a story of an experience she had. And she had seen lots of clients, and so she was really exhausted. She didn't want to help anybody. She went to get a cup of coffee and just sit there in the restaurant, in the coffee house. So at this particular coffee house, there was a woman who's schizophrenic who was talking to herself very angrily, and she thought, oh, I should probably send her love, but she didn't feel like it. She just wanted to have her cup of coffee. And then she saw somebody else, a woman, and she was like this, you know, just going like this, and she thought, oh, I should probably send her love, but I don't feel like it. I just want my cup of coffee and I just want to relax. So she was just sitting there relaxing and drinking her cup, and then all of a sudden, spontaneously, she felt this love in her heart. Just came. She didn't do anything. It just happened to her. And she just felt it, and that's all she felt. And all of a sudden, she was noticing as she was feeling it, the schizophrenic woman was quieted down. And the other woman looked up, and she wasn't like this anymore, and she was kind of looking around the place and seemed calm. So, you know, it was her spontaneous. She didn't do anything. She didn't try anything. She didn't try to do a technique on herself to make herself feel, you know, loving and more resourceful or anything. So just speaking on that, what would you say?
Maybe she should hang out at a different coffee shop. It's a good example, but it could have gone either way, you know,
Good example of what?
of just staying centered and letting things unfold. But you know, you don't know time to time that example would hold up. You know, in another day, it may or may not.
Oh, it might not happen again.
Yeah,
Right,
might,
it was kind of like grace.
Yeah, it was grace and lucky. But you see, this is the true grace. All this is a matter of grace. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
It's like going to the casino. You don't know. You don't know. Yes.
Can you, and I know you talked about this before, but the difference between looking at the world as everything is a result of personal will or everything is God's will. Because that, to me, I really found that helpful.
Yeah. Ramesh made it a point with me to emphasize that everything is God's will. What it does is it helps diminish the ego. So, like, the ego is thinking, me, I'm doing it, right? And if you're like, everything is God's will, and then the me is losing its position. The ego likes to think it's in charge, you see. And if God's in charge, well, maybe the ego can take a break for a while. That would be nice. If the ego takes a break for a while, it gets a lot quieter. maybe you can see what was always there. Maybe. It worked in my case. It helped. So I suggest you just replace me with God, God, God. And see if it has an effect.
So I have a question for you, and that is, you know, you're in this enlightened oneness state, right?
Someone is.
Or someone is,
So-
right?
No one is.
But don't you think your state of being profoundly affects us and other people
I don't
who
think
you're
about it.
around? I know you don't, but isn't that what happens though, whether you are aware of it or not?
Yes, that is what happened in my case with my gurus. That it did profoundly affect me and others. You know, so that's true. But I don't think my gurus were thinking about that. But it's the nature of it, you see.
So our state of peace and our state of love, whether it's grace, usually it's by God, that feeling of oneness or whatever, the consequence is, energetically, is that it does affect other people.
Yes, it does. It does. This is not something I think about.
Right.
But it's clear that it does. Just from my own experience, it's clear that it does.
Right. It's a side effect. A positive side effect.
Perhaps. I think it goes both ways, too.
In what way does it go both ways?
Some people misunderstand it, and it does damage.
You mean
But-
some people who have that state?
No, some students some people who come to an enlightened being, it doesn't help. It does quite the opposite. So it's different.
You mean it causes damage, like makes their symptoms worsen or whatever?
Well, whatever. They misunderstand and then, you know, commit suicide, whatever. Things
Right.
happen like that. Yes, so what is your point?
My point is that if grace happens and you have a powerful state of peace or oneness or enlightenment, that it is going to affect other people who you're around.
Yes. Of course it is. You would think so.
You would think so.
Yeah. I think so.
He can be in a restaurant and the waitress can all of a sudden just forget how to do her job. It just affects people different ways.
They start dropping things. Yeah,
It's
that's
really
true. It
funny.
happens a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I have to be, yeah.
I've seen babies quiet down when you walk by. Yeah.
It's-
Sleep.
You talked about the store you had in Hawaii too.
What was that, Oliver?
The store in Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
Where people.
Oh,
People would come in and immediately just, wow, it feels so good in here. And, you know, we had such beautiful things, they always thought it was the stuff. That's all, yeah, oh well.
Okay, so if the satsangs do not matter, what is your motivation for doing them?
Baba told me to.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, we're gonna sit quietly for a short time.